Anybody see Brian Laundrie? I'm kidding. Welcome to Stillspeakpod. This would be an update video on the Gabby Petito case, but there's absolutely nothing, nada happened today. Complete, utter silence. And after an interview that Josh Taylor gave Brian Ensign yesterday, it seems that nobody, not even the police, know where Brian is. And they don't even know if he's alive and even still on this earth. Josh even acknowledged that they wanted to be careful about what they were saying because they had said something prior that got them in a bit of a situation. He's referring to the fact that they were telling people and the public that they did see Brian on the 11th, and later we've recently found out that is actually not true. So he did acknowledge that, which makes that now 100% true. So now I'll stop telling people in groups that they saw him on the 11th because that's not even true. Listen, everybody's frustrated. You can only imagine her parents. Okay, everybody's frustrated. And I'm not going to lie, I think it's absolutely ridiculous they weren't keeping tabs on Brian Laundrie after they made contact with him on the 11th, or at minimum figured out a way to make sure he was even in the home when they showed up that day. I think he was, and I'll explain in a minute, but I don't expect them to, tap his phones or put a GPS tracker on his car. However, I did expect they would have officers outside the home watching the family's coming and goings from afar. I think they dropped the ball. Now, that being said, I'm not going to pretend like I'm the know-all law enforcement person. I don't know what their protocols are. I'm not an officer. I didn't go to their training. I have no idea. But as a citizen, I feel that something seriously went wrong here, that they allowed this guy to get away. Because here's the thing. He wasn't just a person of interest. He was the last person to be with Gabby. The only person to be with Gabby last. That alone is enough to keep tabs on him. Because it wasn't just, we want to hear what he has to say. No, he and he alone knew where she was and what happened. So it's a little frustrating, and I get it. We're all frustrated. I have to throw Northport a bone simply because that's who I am, and I have to say this. Oftentimes in these cases, a town or a county is not experienced in handling high-profile cases. And Gabby's was a huge high-profile case. It is one, not just was, okay? And so they may never have dealt with a case like this before. And we're kind of learning as they go. They might have misspoke on things at certain times and made mistakes. That's totally understandable. That being said, little mistakes are okay. Missing something's okay. Getting certain information is wrong is okay. And I would say, okay, I get it. You guys were overwhelmed, public pressure, this is all crazy, right? It's another thing to let the last person with someone get away. I'm just saying, Josh. I'm just saying. So, I don't have any updates at all. Absolutely nothing happened today, so I have nothing to share with you except to express my frustration with all of it. I'm not quite sure what is going to come of this, since nobody even knows if this guy is alive or not. Or maybe they do know and they're just really sticking to not telling us that, but he sure didn't seem to know when he was talking to Brian Ensign. And the only thing I'm banking on at this point is, like I said in my video last night, where I said that, whether he's on the run going from place to place or he's hiding out somewhere, he's mentally suffering one way or another, just in different ways. And at some point, he's going to crack and cave, come out, give himself up, or he's going to make a major mistake because he's just mentally suffering so badly. And I don't mean like depression. I mean mentally, as in if he's out in the woods somewhere and all he has is a can of split pea soup and some matches, no phone, no nothing to keep him entertained, and he's just sitting there for hours on end for the last 26 days, you start to go a little crazy, okay, mentally. And not only that, if you're going from place to place, where you start to suffer mentally there is you're always on guard. You're constantly looking around, constantly making sure you don't get caught on camera, constantly thinking that anybody you even slightly bump a shoulder with, you think is going to be law enforcement. So either way, he's suffering mentally. And so at some point, because he's not an experienced fugitive or a criminal, he's going to either cave or he's going to make a massive mistake that's going to get him caught. And there's a lot of talk since the parents now say it was the 13th, not the 14th, which I do think was, I'm sorry, it is. It's possible that they got the days mixed up. I mean, think of all the chaos. Parents texting them, police showing up to their house, all this chaos, right? And they got a day mixed up. I know it looks shady. I know. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I like to look at things from both sides. So don't think because if I say that there's this possibility that the parents really just made a mistake on the day, that means like I'm on their side or I'm defending them. That's not the case. I understand why so many of you think that's suspicious, but I also understand the other side, and I do see that there's a possibility there that through all the chaos, they just seem to, mess it up by a day. But because of that information, a lot of people are like, they think he was gone even before the 13th. Now, it depends on who you believe. If you believe Cassie, then you would say that the last time somebody actually did see him for sure was on the 6th. Me, personally, listen, Brian knew eventually the police were going to show up, right? Eventually. Whether it was a week, 5 days, 3 weeks, a month. At some point, she was going to be reported missing. Her parents were going to notice, okay? He knew that. He just didn't know how many days he had before that would actually happen. And I think at the point that the parents were texting his parents was, and they said, we're going to call the police, is kind of the moment that he knew that either the next day, that night, or 2 days later, or 3 days later, the police were going to show up. So if he had some kind of plan, like a getaway plan, he knew on the 10th that he was going to have to go through with that plan because the police were coming at any moment now. Prior to that, prior to the 10th, or even the 11th, he wouldn't know when they were coming to take off prior to that. Like, he had no way of foreseeing which day they would actually come for him to leave prior to that. So if it was like the 8th or the 9th, well, he didn't know that by the 10th and 11th, the police would now be involved. But you can argue and say, well, he didn't know which day they were going to come. You're right. But he wanted a head start, so he left even before that. And I'm not going to argue with you because that's totally possible. Personally, to me, I think he had a plan. I think that he spent those 10 days considering what he was going to do, planning what he was going to do, and he was waiting for that moment that he knew that police were involved and then took off. So I think 13th is possible, but I also think the 12th and the 11th is possible, or even the 10th, considering that Northport didn't see him in the home now, even though that's what they've been saying since the beginning, that they saw him. They made a mistake, which really bothers me. That mistake bothered me, only because I kept saying, no, they saw him, no, they saw him, no, they saw him, and turns out, no, they didn't. So, great job, Northport. But anything prior to the 10th, I just don't think that he left before that. I just think he was waiting till he knew that police were now being involved before he took off. Regardless, today is now day 26, I believe. Yes, 26th. The 26th day. Oh my gosh. It's just flying by. Oh my goodness. So, that's it. That's all I got for you. Those are my thoughts. And I saw that there was a few thumbs down on my video from last night. And that's okay, When I see that, I actually kind of giggle a little because I know people and how they react to these cases. And so I've seen it before. And they immediately took what I was saying as me defending the parents, which I'm not defending the parents. I'm simply looking at it from both sides. I know and understand why the public is so suspicious of the parents. Believe me, I get it. It's not that I don't understand your side. And I don't necessarily agree with one side or the other side. All I'm saying is that there are these possibilities out there that could explain certain behaviors or things that were done, and it might not be what you think it is. There's nothing wrong with that, and you shouldn't get upset by that if you really want to look at a case fully and look at all the different sides and opinions and views and theories and possibilities. I like to do that. If you don't like to do that, that's cool. I understand. And at the end of the day, it might turn out that they're fully involved. It may be that that's the case. Personally, not seeing that yet, but it could be, okay? And I'm definitely not one to say that I'm right, listen to me, only my opinion matters. No. Because unlike a lot of people, I do like to hear other people out. I do like hearing the other opinions and theories. And some of the opinions and theories, I won't lie, I roll my eyes and like, oh God, give me a freaking break, right? And other theories, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting theory. That's good thinking, good critical thinking. I like that theory. And then I think about that theory and I go, oh, you know what, that's possible, but you know what, that part doesn't really make sense. So I like doing that. Not everybody likes doing that. They get an opinion, they want to speak to and listen to people who only agree with that opinion. And that's it. They don't care what anybody else has to say. And if you're saying something the opposite of their opinion, then they automatically don't like you. And they make accusations about you, like you're defending the parents, which nobody has said to me. But it's happened in other cases that it was said to me. And so it is what it is, right? So I've accepted that. And when you start a channel and you put yourself out there, you got to be open to the fact that not everybody's going to like you. They're not going to like your format, your style, or what you're saying. And that's okay. Like I said before, it'd be so easy for me to come on here and bash the parents. Be like, oh my God, could you believe? I could do that. Totally could do that. And totally play along with you and go into that whole thing and get all these followers. But I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. This channel is for people who want to think about all angles, all sides, all opinions, all theories. Period. End of story. So we continue to wait. I'm getting tired of waiting. I want it found. Nah, but seriously, this, she's not my daughter, so him not being found doesn't really affect me. I just want him found because I want to see what's going to happen next. I'm the public. I'm consuming this story. This story doesn't change my life in any way, right? So I want him found for her parents' sake. They need a form of closure, whether that's he's found deceased or he's found alive, and they could start the next process to justice for their daughter. But I thought about it today, and I'm going to end here because it's a really short video. Gabby and Brian left together on this trip, right? And later they find out Brian comes back with her van, and she's not with him. And within, allegedly, 48 hours, now Brian's gone. The only person who knows where their daughter is and what happened to their daughter. And when he left, I would think that almost felt like losing her all over again in a different way. Why? Because he holds the answers for them, okay? So without him around and possibly dead or never to be found, hopefully he will be, because I don't think he's that skilled of a camper as so many have liked to say he is. they may never have those answers. Yeah, they'll have the investigation as far as like her cause of death, and they'll have a general idea, but they'll never get the full picture, and they'll never be able to look him in the face and, let him know how he destroyed their lives. And that's if he's guilty of killing her, which I know I say if. I do that for a reason. However, come on, we all know where this is going, and for all we know, they have a warrant already for his arrest for her murder. We just don't know about it, and they're keeping it tight-lipped until they find him so it doesn't scare him off. But he was the last one with her. He was the last one to see her. He knows what happened to her, and given everything we know, he most likely did kill her. So I have a feeling tomorrow is going to be quiet as well. Brian Ensign wasn't at the home today. He went home, I believe, so he can get a break, which he deserves one. But he posted a video last night outside the home, and it looked like most of the reporters were not there, which they've been there around the clock. But, the news only covers for so long. They start to lose interest. Another story happens. And if there's, not a lot going on, they're not going to spend the resources to keep reporters out there when they can send them off to another story. So I'm not totally shocked to see that. And I've seen that done in other cases. What sucks about that is the reporters being outside does apply a form of pressure. And if Brian's out there and he is watching, or if people think he's speaking with his parents, which I don't believe, then he would be aware, they're not going away, but now they did go away. So if they start to think that there's no more pressure, we might have a situation, but who knows. So on that note, I may be back tomorrow for Gabby's case. If something happens, I just have a feeling that nothing's going to happen. But we'll see. If not, I'll be back in the next day or two. Until next time, I'll see you soon.